Cowboys in Washington yesterday, looking to win 2 in a row for the first time all season. In the fourth, Dak Prescott strip sack by Ryan Kerrigan in the end zone. Washington recovers. They're up 10, less than 2 to go. Dak runs it in. That cuts the lead to 3. Cowboys get the ball back. Dak finds Cole Beasley to get them into Washington territory. A field goal to tie it from 52 out. And it bangs off the left upright. Washington holds on to win 20-17. Here is Dak Prescott after the game.
Make that field goal going overtime. Who knows what happened? So it wasn't our worst performance out there today. It's a lot that we can learn from, we can get better from. And as I said, going into this bye week, that's something that we're going to take. We're going to figure out why we're not doing as well on the road as we're doing at home. And we're going to figure out how to put ourselves in the best position to succeed. We've got a great team. We got great guys in that locker room that all support each other. I mean, I've been part of some good teams since I've been playing the game of football, and this team is special. So our heads aren't down, heads up, and we're ready to get better this bye week and move forward in the season.
Somehow his glass is still half full. Nick, what was the key to Washington winning this game yesterday?
Man, they shut down Zeke, and credit to them, because that was the least productive game of Zeke's NFL career. And that, I mean, there's guys trying to stop him from doing his job. We talked all week. When you're playing the Cowboys, you go into a game and you say, we have to slow down or stop 21. And they did a better job than just about any team has done since, you know, Zeke's entire football career, since probably dating back to Ohio State. With that said, we showed it in the highlight. That Dak mistake was an absolute killer. They had a 3rd and 4 they converted that they ended up being called back because of a penalty on the rookie right guard Connor Williams. And then immediately thereafter, Dak tries to get himself out of trouble and just sets the ball on the ground. I mean, score in that situation, 13-10. You're right there, and that, I mean, it's hard to overcome that. Now, they almost did. I understand they had a 47-yard field goal that turned into a 52-yard field goal because of a snap infraction, and they miss it. But when you're that limited offensively, if you let the other team score on defense, very difficult to come back from.
I got to give a lot of credit to Jay Gruden. We don't talk about Jay much. Jay hadn't been talked about much of his career. You know, with his brother, John Gruden, getting most of the attention. Yeah. Even in his retirement, John was more popular as a broadcaster there at the other network. And Jay, he's out here trying to make a living as an NFL coach. But for him to have his #1 running back from LSU, they get him this year. He gets hurt. They go out on the free agent wire, acquire Adrian Peterson. He said, we're going to play behind this offensive line after making that trade for Alex Smith. They don't have quality wide receivers. So this was a game, they didn't have no wide receivers on the field. So for me, I got to give credit. It's nice to say their defense played well. Leaning on this offensive line and the grit and hard work of Adrian Peterson has made this team, after 6 games, they're 4-2, and it's because of their head coach. Like, it's a tough, gritty football team. There's not one unit on this team you're in love with. Most of the running backs are hurt. Alex Smith is who he is, 14 completions yesterday. Wide receivers, defensive backfield. Josh Norman is not the player he was. They do have a consistent little pass rush as a group, but not a great group of linebackers. It has to be the head coach and what he's doing week in and week out, giving Washington a chance. That's why they're in the conversation of, well, who's the best team in the NFC East? You got to give Washington, after their win, and especially if you watch the game, like, this is a good quality football team. Both these teams need a wide receiver. I mean, we're approaching the trade deadline. If Washington add one of those top wide receivers who might be available, we'll be talking about later, maybe Amari Cooper, maybe some other guys, Demaryius Thomas, they're from Denver. Man, they would be in position to get them a playoff spot in the NFC.
The only unit on Washington that I feel like is B+ or better is their offensive line. And yesterday it looked like they had the best offensive line on the field. Yesterday, it looked like Trent Williams and Scherf and those guys. Listen, I want to give Peterson credit because I've been down on him for 2 years now, and this year he is having a resurgence. So, like, I didn't think that was possible after the football I watched him play last year, but a lot of that credit goes to him and that offensive line, who is playing excellent football throughout the year, keeping Alex Smith upright and opening those holes for Peterson. But if you're Dallas, you look at this game and you say, Washington beat us with our blueprint. You said 14 completions, right? Ran for over 100 yards. That won the turnover battle. Won the, I think, won the time of possession battle barely. Was close, but won. Like, all of the things that Dallas tries to do to win football games was solid in special teams. Washington was able to do to them.
And yet we go into every game that Dallas plays and we almost expect them to win because we feel like they have such a storied franchise, and this is what they do. But if you look at the Cowboys and Washington over the last couple years, since 2015, Cowboys are 29-26. Washington, 28-25-1. Why do we just expect so much from these Cowboys? Why do we assume that they've got so much success the last couple of years?
It's just hype, Jenna. It's hype. I mean, they got a lot of fans. They got a lot of fans out there, and the media love the Cowboys, but it's hype. This is not a good football team. Like, I can't believe that they thought they were going to be able to get through the season with their wide receiver. I made a mistake. Hearns, I thought Hearns was going to be on track for a 1,000-yard season. No, he looks like a number 2, 3-ish, 4 wide receiver. The only wide receiver that they have is Michael Gallup, the young kid they just drafted this year. He's the only promising wide receiver they have that can play outside. Cole Beasley, he needs some help. I mean, he's been their most dependable wide receiver, but the hype around the Cowboys, it's real. But man, I mean, that, if you look at it, since the start of 2015, 15, 16, 17, and now a quarter of a way, halfway through 18, yeah, half game better than the Washington Redskins. Wow, that's surprising. Most people, they would not know.
I never would have believed it. I didn't know what you were going to say there, but I can't, like, I know that the Cowboys, because they had the one great year, the one awful year mixed in there, because 2015 was the injury year, 2016 was the Dak year. But for Washington, a team that, despite being in the nation's capital, goes under the radar seemingly every year since they moved on from RG3, they've been as good as Dallas. Now, and Dallas got to figure out what the hell's happening to them on the road. Like, now they are 0-4 on the road. Now the home road splits are 28 a game, 3-0 at home with no turnovers. To what they do yesterday, oh, they turned it over again. They lost again. So now they have, I think, 8 turnovers on the road, scoring 13 a game, and they're 0-4. That you said on Friday, all they got to do is find a way to win 3 games on the road, potentially, if they're going to be that good at home. Yes. Those 3 road wins are going to look hard to come by.
They'll be their first 3.
Right. When do they play in New York? When do they play the Giants? There's maybe one. Past that, I don't know where they're finding it.
All right, let's take a break. Time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. All right, we saw Dak Prescott had an up-and-down performance yesterday. Threw for 273 yards, threw a touchdown, ran for another. He also lost 2 costly fumbles. CC, put a grade on Dak Prescott's performance yesterday.
It's hard with Dak because the talent I know around him is not the best in the league. I got to give him a C. That's about it. When you turn the football over, he was hunkering for a D. We had a little pop quiz. He got a little better up this grade. I'm going to give him a C. But when you turn the football over, it's hard to pass Nick's class.
Yeah, I mean, he threw for 270 yards. He had the one big play to Michael Gallup. But his offense scores 17 points, and his offense gave the other team 7 in the most critical spot of the game. I think a C is too nice. I'd give him a D+. I mean, he had a good completion percentage, completed and it threw for, by Dak standards, a lot of yards, but the 2 turnovers, scoring in the teens again, I can't give him a good grade. D+.
All right, got to take a break. Coming up, a game we didn't think would be this close. How were the Patriots able to hold off the Chicago Bears? Next on First Things First.
We didn't